welcome to Get Fruitful Conversations. I'm your host, Anwen Cooper, and if you're interested in growing a passion-fueled, purpose-driven enterprise and believe that business can be a force for greater good, then this is the podcast for you. Each episode, I'll be talking with inspiring entrepreneurs and inviting them to share how they're pioneering new ways of working to create more prosperity and positive impact for people and the planet. We'll be bringing you fresh insight and practical actions to generate more income and impact through your own business. Our purpose is to give you new perspectives on how to align your vision to a bigger mission in a way that fulfills your personal potential while also generating a longer lasting legacy and more value for all. So thanks for tuning in. I'm delighted you're here to listen. Now let's get fruitful with today's conversation. So, welcome everybody, and welcome to my guest today, who is Jemma FH. And I'm really excited that Jemma is joining me today to talk about her entrepreneurial journey and how she is using business as a force for good. So Jemma is a keynote speaker, an employment lawyer and HR specialist, company director and CEO of her own business, as well as being a radio co-host and the Kent and Medway FSB area lead and a school governor. So she's a very busy person and really interested to hear her thoughts today and more about what she's been doing through her own business to support her local community and give back to charities that she is keen to support. So welcome, Jemma.
Thank you. Pleased to be here.
Great to have you. So yeah, tell me a little bit more about your business journey. How did you come to start Orchard Employment Law and what you do?
Okay. So like many people, being in business or being a businesswoman was never on my radar. It wasn't something that I had ever planned to do. I was quite happy being employed, and again, there's nothing wrong with that. But in addition to things happening within my work where I felt I wasn't able to give my best because the workload was increasing and the resources weren't, I was also at risk of redundancy several times in a row. So the first year, my employer came to me and said, look, we're going to put you at risk of redundancy because you're in the pool. That's what we have to do, but don't look for another job. And I spoke to somebody who said, well, why don't you start up on your own? And I thought, no, that's not what I want to do. And so parked that idea. Second year came, same thing happened. I was approached again by my employer who said, well, you're at risk of redundancy again, but don't worry, you won't be made redundant. So I looked for another job, and at the interview was told, you're not a right fit for this business, but have you considered starting up on your own? And I thought, no, again, people just aren't listening to me. That's not what I want to do. Anyway, third year came. I was having less and less time with my family, which was quite important to me. I was having less time to work on cases, which again was quite important to me. And I then started to think to myself, well, if I'm going to be at risk of redundancy every year, this job security that I'm clutching onto is a little bit of a myth. It doesn't really exist, because what happens if next year I'm not, my face doesn't fit or whatever. So essentially I decided to start my business, Orchard Employment Law. And like most people, again, I started it from home. I'm at home again because of the pandemic. But I started it from home. I started on my own, very much wanting to be like my employer, my ex-employer, but better. And over time developed, confidence to do things the way that I want to do things. And have slowly grown a small team. We now have an office, and we have clients that are not only in Kent, but also I think we can say nationwide. We've got clients in the Midlands. We have one client in Scotland. We've got clients all over the southeast, London, Surrey, Hampshire, etc. So it's been a journey, but it's been a really good journey. And part of being able to run my own business and define the way that we do business means that we've got our core values, and one of those is community. Okay. And that's where that business for good comes in. I very much felt like I couldn't give away. I mean, we give lots of free advice away in terms of our social media and our blogs and our vlogs and content, but I knew that I couldn't work for free because that wouldn't be sustainable. So instead, what we do is we offer a discount to any charity or not-for-profit business, and we have quite a few of those on our books, and it's the same, it's consistent 20%. Doesn't matter whether you're spending £100 or £1,000, you'll still get that 20% discount, because we understand that those pennies need to be used on other stuff, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's great.
So yeah.
Fantastic. So tell us a bit more about how you're giving back to the local community, because I know that that's also important to you, and there's different things that you've been doing over the years.
So there's a number of different things that we have been doing, focusing, I guess, on the oldest and youngest members of our society. So for me, I know you mentioned I'm a school governor. I personally, that's my thing. I give my time as a school governor, and that's really important. I think it's important to me, but also from a business point of view, there are a number of different things we do. Like we do work experience, where we give a young person, either year 10 or 11, a week's work experience. And, that's really important, because I was on a diversity webinar the other day, and they were saying that the UK is actually the worst in the world for what your parents do in determining how you end up in the workplace or in business.
Really poor social mobility.
Oh my goodness. And the statistic was that if you are low ability, and I know we don't really like that term, but that's what it is. If you're low ability in school, but your parents are fairly well off, you're a third time more likely to end up in a high paid role than if you're high ability, but your parents are poor, which it's a bit shocking. And that comes down to a number of things, but one of those being access to good work experience and role models. So for us, doing work experience is very important. Doing talks for schools is very important. So I often speak to schools. We'll do webinars, or I'll physically go in and talk to schools, anywhere really, as a part of a panel or as an individual. And then also with the FSB, the Skills 30/30, which I think you've done as well, Anwen, where we...
I haven't actually, but I have heard about it. Tell us a bit more. No, not yet.
So the FSB,
I know of it.
Yeah, so the FSB, it's a Federation of Small Business, is an organisation that represents small businesses and sole traders. And one of the things that it started in Kent, was an initiative that started in Kent, was they'll take 30 business owners into a school to speak to 30 students in either year 11 or year 12 or 13. And they set us up in the hall. It's pre-social distancing, obviously, and it's like speed networking. So the students would move around, and it was amazing because, initially, depending on what school you're in, the first thing they'll say is, I want to do a business, and they all want to do the same business, because that's the culture in the school, whether it's we all want to be hairdressers, or we all, and again, not saying that there's anything wrong with these professions, or we all want to be carers, but by the time they've been to 3 or 4 different people, they're like, oh, I had never thought about the fact that I could do marketing as a job, or I'd never thought about the fact that I could work on a ship, or I'd never thought about the fact that I could have my own business, or I could be in employment law or HR. And you literally see the world come alive to them by the time
it just opens their mind to all the opportunity.
Exactly. And also if they have that opportunity to then, most people, they've spoken to their peers, they might speak to their parents, but they haven't got that confidence to, it's like an interview, I guess, speak to other people they don't ordinarily speak to. So again, that's given our time for free. It's usually about 2 hours, and it's happened in various different schools across Kent. And it's enjoyable. Some students have even been offered jobs or work experience, summer jobs.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. But even if you can't offer that, I just think we have so much to give. In terms of our experiences. So that's another thing.
I hope that will be carrying on.
Yes, it will. We haven't done it recently for obvious reasons, and we can't do it online because schools are very cautious about putting people in a room online with strangers, for obvious reasons. But we have got some dates booked for September onwards, so I'm hopeful we'll do that. And then another thing that I do as well is I'm really keen on speaking about some of the older members of our society. So I've done lots of talks about dementia and ageing in the workplace. and also women in the workplace as well, and some of the discrimination that we face, and leveling the playing field in that sense.
Interesting. On the subject of dementia, have you done the Dementia Friends training?
I have, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you?
Tell us a bit about that. I haven't, but my grandmother has dementia. So I have sort of lived experience of being around somebody with it, and so I have an understanding of it and the condition, and but I've never done any formal training. So I'd be interested to know more about that.
I should. Yeah, no, I do. So my grandfather also had dementia, which I guess is probably why I had that initial interest. And a friend of mine whose dad has dementia also, she did Dementia Friends training. And I think the thing is, I mean, because my granddad had dementia, and he lived for 20 years with dementia, which is quite long. And he was in the home, and my aunt would look after him. She'd pop in before and after work to make sure he was okay. And I think I felt as though I knew everything about it because my granddad has dementia, and I understand. But then when I had the Dementia Friends training, I realised that I didn't understand everything about it.
Right. I guess it affects people in very different ways, doesn't it? So just because you've experienced it with one person, it could be very different in the way that it presents for someone else.
It does, and the Dementia Friends training is all about living well with dementia. It's people can live well with dementia, and it's understanding how they talk about little light bulbs going off on a Christmas tree, and how that can affect not only your memory, which is what I thought, but your vision, your perception of things, your hearing. It's these cells slowly going out, but also the importance of, because one of the things poorly for me was, I think, well, if I don't visit granddad this week, it's okay because he won't remember. But actually, whilst he might not remember that I visited, he remembers that good feeling, like when you wake up and you've had a good dream. You might not remember that dream, but you just know that you feel good. And there were things like that within the training that I found really interesting and useful. And whilst my granddad was alive, I was able to put those into practice.
Yeah, interesting. And does it relate to the workplace at all? Like, is there anything about
so the Dementia Friends training
with people who
the Dementia Friends training doesn't specifically go into the workplace. So what I did is I then, using that training and having discussions with various different organisations like the Parkinson's Society, which is a form of dementia, and understanding that actually, because we think of dementia as an old person's disease, don't we? But there's lots of people who are getting early onset dementia in their 40s. And as I said, my granddad lived for 20 years with dementia, over 20 years, in fact. So you can continue to work, whereas some employers will initially be like, right, you've got this diagnosis, kind of just write you off. And there's no need to do that. It shouldn't be a stigma. We can get people in to talk to you for free about how to work with this person with dementia. There's a lady I met. I did a talk for the Medway Dementia Alliance, and there was a lady, and she still got on the bus and went places, and it was really important for her to continue to work. That was her sense of self, and keeping that bit of independence about her.
I can see that. It's important.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, that's really great to hear about that. I definitely will look into that. I hope other people will, if they are interested as well. So tell me a bit about your vision for your business, and what are you working towards at the moment? What's coming down the line in the future?
Oh, so it's a small team at the moment. It's myself. I have 2 members of staff. I've got one Kickstart person, one third person starting in a couple of weeks, and we have a freelancer that we use from time to time if we ever get overwhelmed with work. And I'm really keen, although I'm keen to grow the business, I'm keen to keep that feel. So within our business, we operate a lot of flexible working. We operate working from home. We're all about doing things, being honest and doing things authentically. So we'll give our clients the information, but ultimately it's up to them as to what they decide to do. And it's about equipping them to even make decisions for themselves in the future. So I'm quite keen not to lose, although we're going to grow, I'm really keen for us not to lose, our values and our the essence of who we are and what we do. So
Yeah.
going forward, it's just building on what we already have, really, continuing to have more clients, continuing to have more of a team, and for it to be a fun place to work, an enjoyable place to come to as well, because that's quite important. It's all well and good saying we're doing all this good out in the community, but actually within the business we should be doing good as well. It should be somewhere where people think, I enjoy working here, this is where I want to be.
Yeah, that's great. Really interesting to hear about the Kickstart person who's joining the team. For those people who don't know about that scheme, do you want to just share a little bit about it?
I will. So the Kickstart scheme is a government initiative launched this year, whereby a person or a business employer can take on a young person aged, I think it's 18 to 25 or 16 to 25.
I think it's 16 to 24. Yeah.
16 to 24, who would be at risk of long-term unemployment or is on universal credits. And what the government does is they pay, they give you the money to pay the wages of this person for 6 months, but also the young person should also be getting some training. So that might be employability, but as well they might get some on-the-job training. So for me, it'd be they'd get training about employment law, or I've employed a marketing person, so they get training on marketing, as well as having help with their CVs. And at the end of it, they'll either be more employable, or they you might offer them a job. So there's no obligation to offer them a job, but it is a good scheme. And I know I was having a discussion recently with a friend of mine who was saying, I'm not sure about doing it because I don't know whether I'll be taking advantage of a young person. And I was like, absolutely not. This is actually a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a win-win, isn't it? The employer gets, an extra pair of hands to help out with some work that he's doing. But the young person gets some really great experience to put on their CV and training and mentoring.
And they get paid.
Yeah, and they get paid as well.
Yeah. So it's not like an unpaid internship, which has got all sorts of, feelings about that. But actually they get paid and they get this experience, and they should walk away with something good. And you walk away having had somebody in your business for 6 months.
Yeah.
So
definitely a win-win, and one to look into if people are interested in that. So looking back over your journey in business so far, what would you say are the big lessons that you've learned along the way?
I think the biggest one is just to be yourself, and I didn't realize that I wasn't necessarily being myself in the beginning. As I said, I started wanting to be very much like this corporate brand, because that's what I came from. But just being really comfortable with being myself, being comfortable with understanding that everyone isn't for you. So if you don't win, like when you start off, it can be quite disheartening if you don't win that client, or but actually it's about having the right fit. You're not going to be for everybody, but also everybody isn't for you. So having that confidence is really important as well. What else has been a big thing, big lesson? Just to give things a go. Because so a lot of the things which I'm doing now, like the public speaking, for instance, again, they were never in my plans or my visions, but just saying yes to a few things has opened opportunities and doors. It's been quite exciting. So give things a go.
Worth trying and experimenting to see what works. Brilliant. So where do you draw inspiration from? Are there any other businesses that you admire, or people in business that you are inspired by, or do you like to read any books that have stood out for you, or podcasts that you listen to? Kind of what inspires you, or who do you look up to that you think is doing a good job in business?
Who do I think is doing a good job? Well, I love to read, and I'm always interested in reading different things. So I think the last book, a few months back, last businessy book I read was probably Relentless.
Okay, I've heard of that one.
It's very colourful language, so if you're sensitive, don't.
Right.
But if you're not sensitive, there are some really good lessons in there about doing your best and keeping up, being motivated, and learning to fail and fail fast. All of those kind of things which are really important. So I love to read, and I'm always open to books. And because we've been in business for such a while now, we've built a network of people around us that are still in business or have been in business. So I think it's important not to take advice from everyone. Can I say that, actually? I think it's important.
Yeah, that's a really good tip.
I think it's important not to take advice from everybody because, well, everybody doesn't know what's best for you or your business, and you can just get a bit lost. It's not that people don't mean you well, most of them do, but I think it's important not to.
I think that's a really good point. I think people are very willing to share their opinions, whether they're asked or not sometimes. And I think you're right. They don't always know what is best for your business. They're sharing their opinion based on their experiences of what has worked for them or what they've seen working for other people. It doesn't necessarily mean that's going to translate to what you're doing. Yeah,
exactly. And even worse than that is taking advice from people who are not even in business.
Yes, definitely.
So, again, I say that because people mean well, your friends, your family members, but they're not walking that journey.
No,
they haven't done it. So I keep my circle small, but I have trusted people that I can go to for specific things, but also do trust my gut as well. I know I think, well, I'll just try it, and if it doesn't work, won't do it anymore.
Yeah, good words of wisdom. Thank you. So is there anything else that you would like to say about your business journey or business as a force for good? Any other top tips that you'd like to share or words of wisdom?
Yeah, I think business as a force for good is people really underestimate the value in that. And I remember very early on, I did this course, which was a bit like a business mentoring course. And one of the things was looking at Simon Sinek's Start with Why. So your why for why you're doing the business. And really your why, we're all in business, we want to earn money, we all want to make a living, but that can't be your why. Your why's got to be bigger than just paying the bills, because we can do other things to pay bills. So I think, having that force for good, having that reason for why you do what you do, and getting that good feeling knowing that you're doing something good it can't be quantified as how important that is for your business. So I think I'd definitely say that. Then what was the question again you asked me?
Just any other sort of words of wisdom or top tips from your business journey to share with other people who are maybe just starting out or running their own businesses?
Yeah, I think if you're just starting out, is to increase your network, to get to know people. Even though I said don't take advice from everybody, there are things you can pick up on along the way, and submerging yourself in that kind of business world, whether it's online, through podcasts, through watching Dragon's Den. It's very interesting. Very interesting. That's quite good. That helped me a lot in the beginning. And I think, if you're thinking about growing, is maybe tackling things in smaller chunks. So I know lots of people are like, oh, what's your vision in 5 years' time? And there's nothing wrong with having a 5-year vision, but how do you get from 0 to 5? That can be quite difficult. So I tend to look 3 to 6 months ahead and think, well, what is it we want to be doing there? And and if you've been going for a little while longer, is not forgetting the things that worked for you. So sometimes it's a bit like dieting, isn't it? People jump from one diet to another, and they forget, well, how did I do that in the first instance? It's about, I keep a diary, I keep a book, a notebook where I write things in, and it's important because sometimes things really work, or you enjoy certain things, and then you forget about it because you try the next shiny new thing, and then when you go back to your book, you realize, oh, remember when I used to do that really worked for me. We need to go back to doing that again.
Yeah, that's a really good reminder to build on our past successes and not always be chasing the next new shiny thing. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. So I'm going to wrap up in a moment. But before we go, just want to invite you to share your website and social media and how people can find out more about you and what you do.
So our website is www.orchardemploymentlaw.co.uk.
Great.
You can connect with me on Twitter, follow me on Twitter, which is at Jemma, it's Jemma with a J, Fairhay, Fairhay, or link in with me on Jemma FH.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Jemma. You've been a really great guest and I really enjoyed this conversation. You've shared lots of really interesting resources and ideas and things for people to go away and think about applying in their own businesses. So thanks again for joining. Thanks for listening in to today's Get Fruitful Conversation. If you've enjoyed what you've heard, I invite you to give us a 5-star rating, leave a review, subscribe to the podcast, and tell your friends and colleagues to check it out too. This will help us reach a wider audience and make sure you don't miss out on future episodes. If you'd like to get in touch, connect with other like-minded people in business, and continue conversations about topics discussed here, then I'd love you to come and find our community online. It's free to join us. Just search for the Get Fruitful Business for Good group over on Facebook, visit my website, getfruitfulmarketing.com, or click the links in the show notes. I'd love to hear what Business for Good means for you. Until next time, goodbye for now.